Hi everyone and welcome back. Okay, I think it's time for a product review. I was contacted by Home Hobby. They sent me an email and they asked me if they could send me one of their watercolour kits out to review, so I was happy to oblige. So let's take a look inside and see what we've got. As with all these reviews, this was sent out to me free. I didn't have to pay for this, and just for transparency, I'm not getting paid to do this review, so it's going to be an honest and unbiased review. Okay, so let's see exactly what we've got in here. If I can get this off, there we go. Right, okay, so our wish is to inspire your inner creativity. Well, that's good to know for a start, isn't it? Excellent. You can see there we've got a double hole metal pencil sharpener. That's a good start. You know, a lot of beginners kits and things like that, if you get pencil sharpeners in them, they're usually cheap plastic ones, aren't they? But that's a really good sign. That's a good start, definitely. And let's have a look what we've got here. Okay, so it looks like we've got a list of everything that's contained in the kit. Shows you just there. Get to know your watercolour studio kit. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's nice to know. Okay, what else have we got? Well, that's useful. A colour wheel. That's something I'm always talking about over on Patreon to the members over there. Very useful to have that. That's going to really help with colour mixing. And it looks like we've got 3 step-by-step projects in here. So this one looks like a lighthouse in watercolour, done in the various stages there, so you could paint along with that, or you could join my Patreon. Oh come on, you can't blame me for trying, can you? I've got to plug it somehow, haven't I? It just reminded me actually, because we've just done a lighthouse similar to this, so oh, that's good. You even get a reference photo. That's really good. So that's really useful for a beginner. Step-by-step bonfire. So again, we've got all the various stages there. And the reference photo to copy. And this one, it's an old vehicle, a rusty truck. It does say the artist's name there as well, Gary Wing. And the others were by Heli Coed, I think that says. I'm not so sure how to pronounce that. But yeah, that's great. 3 projects in there, all different varying subjects that beginners can follow along with step by step, plus a colour wheel to help you with your colour mixing. So that's really good. That's a really good start. So let's take a look at everything else we've got. Okay, we've got a little plastic palette in there. That'll come in useful. Set of brushes. Now they look good, don't they? It's a very nice put together set as well. Just the right sizes that a beginner's going to need. Got the sizes written on the back there. So we've got a size 20 flat, a size 18 filbert, a size 10, a size 8 and a size 4 round brush. We've got a website there we can go and visit for more details as well. Well, I hope they work okay, because that's a really nice set of brushes there. That's really good. Okay, what are these? Watercolour pastels. Okay, that looks interesting. Okay, we'll definitely be giving those a try. I must say, actually, it's, you know, with all this stuff in here and everything, it's a very nicely presented kit. As I'm looking at it now, I'm just kind of thinking this would be something that a young person or a beginner, I'd love to wake up to on Christmas morning and unwrap this. Now, I was supposed to have actually received this before Christmas, but there was a bit of a mix-up with the delivery, so they sent this out later, and I've only just received it, which is a shame, because I think for Christmas this would have been ideal. But there again, you know, if you've got a member of your family or a friend that's just beginning, or a young person that's interested in starting up art, they've got a birthday coming up or something, I think something like this would be wonderful. But they look interesting. Watercolour pastels. And we've got watercolour pencils in there, 12 pieces. How many did we get with the pastels? 12 in there as well. That's really good. Okay, we've got a set of tube watercolours there, 12 tubes. Excellent. And we've got what looks like an A4 pad of watercolour paper, 10 sheets, acid free, cold press surface, and the size 140 pounds in weight. So let's have a look at this. See if I can get the texture to show through. Again, it looks like a sort of a canvas texture on there, and on the back it looks a little bit smoother. This is actually looking a little bit like the paper I reviewed last time from Arteza. I wonder if it's the same one. That'll be interesting to use that. And that's just packing paper in there. So there we go. So I think what we'll do to start with, we'll break open some of these and we'll do a few swatches and just test the colours. Okay, so I'll just clear my desk and we'll get set up. Right, okay, so I've squeezed some colours out into the palette. Just one thing to note, there's only 10 wells in the palette and we've got 12 tubes of paint. I think really what this set could do with is one of these type of palettes. These little fold out plastic palettes. I think that would have been a better option than that. I mean, Home Hobby did ask me, you know, for any constructive criticism on these. I mean, it's not criticism, it's just a preference really. I would have much preferred to have been able to work from something like this, because I can squeeze all the colours in there and I've got individual mixing wells, and then I can fold that back up and keep the paint safe. With that one, I can't do that. You know, I've got to put that in a bag or something to stop dust getting on it and everything when I'm not using it. Plus, there's not very much mixing space in there. I had to squeeze the black and the white into the centre mixing area, which isn't very big. So I would suggest, if you buy this set, to maybe get an additional palette to go along with it. Now the colours themselves, for those that are interested, there's no actual pigment numbers on these, just a colour name. We've got the health and safety labelling there, so we're okay. But apart from that, there's no other information anywhere on any of these tubes. Like I say, it just says the name, vermilion, the weight, 12mm we've got in there, 40 fluid, 0.40 fluid ounces. Yeah, no pigment numbers at all on them. But the colours we've actually got, I think, are a very nice selection actually, because what we have got is lemon yellow, yellow ochre, vermilion, crimson red, violet, Prussian blue, grass green, deep green, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and black and white. So I think they're 12 very useful colours there. Just looking at them, they look okay. So we'll get some paper and we'll have a go. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to swatch these out in the paper that came with the set. So that'll be a good sort of first test there. Okay, so what I'll do to start with, I'll just get the small brush. In fact, it'd probably be easier if I hold that. Just get the small brush, just a little bit of water on it. And we'll just see how these colours are. I mean, straight away, that's quite nice, isn't it, that one? Lemon yellow. And then we'll go for some yellow ochre. So a little bit more water there. So this one's vermilion. So those colours are quite strong actually. Quite surprised. And this one's crimson. So I'm using the paint fairly thick, look, just to start with. And I'm re-wetting the brush just to get some clean water on there, and I'm just going to pull that pigment down so we can see what it looks like with a lighter wash. And then this blue, what did they call this blue? I've actually got the names written on the back of the box there. I think this was violet actually, wasn't it? It's not blue, it's violet. Yeah, these colours are very strong actually. I'm really surprised at that. They're quite well pigmented. Quite vibrant as well. They're not bad at all, you know, they're really good. So that one was Prussian blue. Now we're going to get into some greens. This one's called grass green. Yeah, it's like a very yellow sap green, that one is, isn't it? It's quite a nice green, that. I've got this darker green here, which is called deep green. In fact, I'll probably be able to get that in on there, won't I? And this one looks like burnt sienna. And then burnt umber. I mean, I'm just doing this very roughly, look. I mean, the paint's kind of very thick in places. It needs kind of brushing in a little bit more, but I mean, hopefully it gives you an idea of the vibrancy and the strength of the pigment and how it looks, you know, when it's in a lighter wash, you know, the transparency of it. I mean, just looking at them now as they're drying, these that are kind of just drying along here, they're actually really very good. I mean, I'm talking for sort of student quality paint, beginners paints, these are really good. And just test the black as well. It's not a colour I really use, but I know some people like it. Whoa, look at the strength of that. That's black. That is really strong. Add some more water to that. Oh, that's... If you like black, you'll like this one. It's very strong. Very strong. I mean, the white is kind of pointless doing it. It's very stiff, actually, the white. Very stiff. I'm just wondering if we put some white over one of these darker colours just to see the opacity of it. That's pretty good, actually. Well, I've got to be totally honest and say I am really impressed. My first impressions of these, I am really impressed. But the thing is, do they actually work? You know, when we start doing wet into wet painting and mixing colours and all that fun stuff. So now I've got an idea of the colours. I'm quite looking forward to using those in a painting. But before we do any painting with them, I want to test out the watercolour pencils and the watercolour pastels as well. So I'll just take that off there. And we'll take a look at these watercolour pencils. If I can get in there. Okay, so watercolour pencil, home hobby. No colour name on that one. Have we got colour names on any of the others? No, nothing there. There's nothing on there, not even on the end cap. So there's nothing on there that says what the colour is, so you're just going to have to kind of remember those. Oh, actually I've left one in the box there. There we go. Okay, well let's give them a go. And we've only got 12 of them, so what I'll do, I'll shade an area on the watercolour paper. And then I'll wet it in just a minute. Let's just get all these colours swatched out first and just see what they look like. They feel nice actually on the paper. Straight away you notice they kind of feel, well, they feel a little bit like the Arteza pencils that I reviewed not so long ago. I mean, they were excellent. You know, they lay down really smoothly and they've got a nice strong pigment in them. And these as dry pencils are very much the same. They feel very nice actually. And again, look, you can see that there's no problem whatsoever with lack of pigment in them. They're really well pigmented. Shame we haven't got colour names, or at least colour numbers or something. Now again, with all this kind of stuff, I don't think there's going to be any open stock. I think you have to literally buy them in sets. And I'm not sure how big the sets go, you know, with these watercolour pencils. I think it might just be, you know, a 12 set and that's it. I'll leave details to the website anyway in the description, so you can go and, you know, check these out for yourself if you're interested. But I mean, look at these pigments, aren't they lovely? There's nothing wrong with the pigments at all in these, nothing wrong with them at all. Okay, I won't bother testing the white there. I'll wait till I've got some colour dissolved on there, then I can probably try and draw over it with that just to test how opaque the white is. But for now we'll just test these colours. We'll just add some water to them. I mean, the first thing I notice is they don't really match up with the watercolours, so, but that doesn't matter. I just thought maybe these colours tied in exactly with what we've got, you know, with the watercolour tubes. I mean, they're very similar but not quite the same. We haven't got an orange, we've got yellow ochre instead. We haven't got a pink colour there. Okay, so I'll just get some water on the brush and see what happens. Well, they work. They do dissolve. And I have to say as well, these brushes that I'm using, so far, I'm totally impressed with them. They feel really nice. They feel like good quality nylon brushes. Oops, that was a lot of water in there. It's probably going to dilute that quite a lot. Actually, that's quite a strong strong pigment there. I am noticing that all of the pigment is not dissolving. Now that's a good thing or a bad thing, it depends which way you look at it. Sometimes I like the pigment not to completely dissolve. I like to use watercolour pencils with watercolour to create certain textures, so when it's wetted over, it's nice sometimes to have a little bit of that texture still remaining there. But I've heard others say, you know, they don't like it, they want the paint to dissolve into pure watercolour. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, each to their own, but I often think, well, you could just use, you know, pure watercolour in that case. You know, what I do like about watercolour pencils is the detail and the texture you can actually create with them. Oh, that's strong, that orange. You know, the detail and texture you can actually create with them, you know, in your watercolour paintings. So I think they're absolutely fine. Again, nothing wrong with them at all. I think they're really good. What I'll do actually, I'll just bring these back in and I'll just test the opacity of this white pencil just on one of these dark colours. Well, it's not highly opaque really. Like a lot of these watercolour pencils, you know, they're not really opaque at all. You could get away with using that to maybe burnish some of these colours, and just for lightening a little bit. I mean, you're not going to get pure whites with that, but you can just lighten up a little bit some of the colours there. Now what I want to do is just give this paper a little bit of a test as well. So I'll just move some of this stuff out of the way. And I'm just going to put 2 clips on the end to hold the paper in place. And I just want the paper at a bit of an angle actually, so if I put those there like that, and I just rest that on there, got a bit of an angle then. Okay. So I'm just going to test out some of these big brushes now and see how they perform, see how much water they hold. And we'll just lay down a big flat wash on this paper. So I'm just going to wet the paper all over. These brushes feel lovely, they really do. Really nice and soft, and they spring back into shape perfectly. Look, they're not cheap nasty brushes, they're okay. I have no problem with using those at all. Okay, so the paper's all wet there. Let's mix up one of the blue colours there. Just imagine we're doing a sky. Just get a touch of yellow ochre on there. Just drop that in along the bottom. Well, everything's working perfectly. Do you know what I was expecting with this paper? The same thing that happened with the Arteza paper, the way it bubbled up and the sizing kind of lifted from the surface of the paper, but it's not happening. Okay, so let's go for some little bit of that green. Like I say, I haven't got really any mixing area here at all. That's, you know, one of the problems, this palette. It's not a problem, I mean, it's a preference. Again, this paper stays wet for a long time, look. Still nice and wet along that top edge there, that's really good. for wetting to wet, this is actually working okay. I use a bit of black. I don't like black too much. I usually mix my own, but let's just mix up sort of dark warm brown there just to see what kind of strength we can get with these pigments. I mean, look at that. That's pretty strong, isn't it? That's pretty good, you know, for a student set of watercolours. That really is. And the paper is performing really well. Yeah, I think that's pretty good stuff there. That's certainly got my approval. Don't know what sort of effects we can get with these brushes. Oh, they're quite good. Look, we can get some textures with them and things. But I honestly don't think there's anything to complain about with these at all, and the paper as well. I think that's really impressive actually for a starter set. I really am impressed with those. We'll just test out the filbert brush, see if we can lift some pigment off of this. See what happens, see if that will damage the paper, or you know, if anything funny happens. So the paper, while it's wet, you can lift nice and easily with it as well. Oh, that's really good. And as for buckling, well, there's not really too much to speak of. You know, consider that we wetted the paper all over just there. I mean, it has a little bit, but that's normal for £140. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly acceptable. Right, so now let's give these pastels, watercolour pastels, a test. Okay, I've just taken them out of the cardboard box and I've noticed that one or two of them have broken. But obviously that's not probably the fault of the product. That might be, you know, that could have happened in transit, couldn't it? So, but I mean, the idea is with these things, you break them into the pieces you want anyway, so it's not a, you know, a really big issue, is it? Okay, I've got some crumbs on there. So they're calling these watercolour pastels. I think what I'm going to do first of all is we'll try them dry. Oh, look at that, strong pigments in these. Ah, spoke too soon. Oh no. Why didn't it work on the other side then? Maybe I just needed to rub it a little bit first just to get it going. I mean, bearing in mind that this is, you know, cold pressed watercolour paper, so we're going to get, you know, quite a bit of texture showing through here. But so far these pastels are nice, chalky, a little bit crumbly. I won't bother again with the white. I have noticed something. It seems when you, on certain, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. But then when I turn it round, I get pigment. I wonder if there's some kind of sealer on one side of them or something. these colours a little bit muddy now, aren't I? Try and use an individual finger for each one. And again, you know, as I'm looking at those, I think the vibrancy of them is fine. You know, they're nicely pigmented. There's nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong with the colours there at all. And we have got the colour names on the back there. Pretty similar to actually what we've got with the watercolour, but we've got a pink, an orange. So probably they're more in line with the watercolour pencils actually. So let's just see if they do the same thing. If we just get a damp brush. Yep, there we go. I mean, that's what you'd expect from pastels, isn't it? I mean, they all do that really, don't they? You know, the chalky pastels. So in a way, calling them watercolour pastels, I mean, you can do, can't you? You can call them watercolour pastels because they dissolve in water, but like I say, all pastels do anyway. You know, even pastel pencils, if you scribble those out and just wet them, they will dissolve in water, just like this. So there's nothing special about these in that respect. They are really just pastels that you can re-wet like any other pastel. But I suppose to call them a watercolour pastel will let a beginner know that you can actually draw with them and wet them. I got a bit of red mixed in with that blue there, so that's not going to be the true colour of that one. Never mind. Now, one other thing I did notice with these, with all of them actually, the pencils, the pastels and the paints, there's no light fast rating anywhere. Whether there is on the website, I don't know. But like I say, this set's geared towards beginners. You know, that aren't really concerned about that sort of thing. You know, they're not going to be producing a masterpiece straight away that's going to be hung on a wall for hundreds of years. It's got to stay light fast. So these are the sort of things you're going to use in your sketchbook or your journal, travel journal or something anyway. So I think as a set, you know, to get started with, I would buy this for somebody as a present. You know, if I had you know, a beginner artist that I knew, a friend or something, you know, I would buy them this set. So I'm just trying to use these pastels now like watercolours. Very, very absorbent. As soon as you put the water on there, look, it kind of soaks in and you don't get a lot of pigment on the brush. So I'm not going to bother continuing like that because it seems like these are a little bit hard to lift the pigments off. You have to be really sort of quick with a wet brush, and not much pigment kind of lifts off. But you can use them how you want. It's probably best to use them how I did, like that, you know, the same kind of way as you do with watercolour pencils. But I'm sure, you know, you can use all those tricks like wetting an area and maybe I haven't got anything to scrape at the minute. See if my fingernail will do it. You know, you can get all these kind of effects, scraping off dust into wet areas, going in there while it's still wet and getting these really dark, intense areas of colour. So you can do all that kind of stuff with them. So you can have some real fun with these, I think, and get your hands dirty all at the same time. Okay, so let's just go back to the little watercolour that we've done. It's kind of dry now. I love the way the paint has diffused in that. It seems lovely for wet into wet. It hasn't bubbled up or pulled up. The surface of the paper looks all intact. It looks fine. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So I honestly can't fault these in any way. You know, other than the fact that maybe a more advanced artist, an intermediate artist, is definitely going to want to know about pigment numbers and more information. you know, on the tubes and the pencils and things like that. But for a set of art materials for a child or a beginner, they're not going to be concerned about all that stuff. They just want to have fun. And I think this is a set to do that with, without having any problems with it. Now, when the company emailed me, they did actually say that they wanted to send me a set out for review, and they wanted to send me 2 other sets as well to give away. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be giving those away on Patreon. So if anybody's interested, that's where I'll be giving the sets away. And Home Hobby are going to be posting them direct to you. But I will contact you over on Patreon with more information about that. So if you've got a young person in your life or a beginning artist that you think would appreciate, you know, a nice little set like this, well, there'll be 2, like I say, given away. Now, as for the price of these, I can't actually remember off the top of my head because I couldn't get through to the link of the website when it was sent to me on an email. But I did eventually do it, but I can't remember. I think it's around about €30. I'm not too sure, but what I will do is put a link to the website, to the Home Hobby website, where you can have a look at all this stuff. They do lots of kits, actually. They do specific ones, you know, for watercolour, for graphite drawing, all that kind of stuff. And again, it's all very reasonably priced, and it's obviously aimed at students and beginners. And with that in mind, I'm going to give this set 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I think it's really well presented. I love the idea that we've got some information with it as well, and we've got 3 lessons we can follow along with. I think a beginner is really going to appreciate that. That's going to really help them, because I can remember going into the art shop when I first started, and it's overwhelming, isn't it? You've got that vast array of art materials everywhere. You haven't got a clue what you want. You kind of want everything. You want to try everything that's there, but you just don't know which is the right one to buy for you. You know, and you ask the sales assistant and they'll put you straight onto Artist Quality, and you think, well, I can't afford that. So you buy something that's a lot cheaper, and you're worried that it's not as good as the Artist Quality. You're worried that maybe you can't get the results on it. You know, and it can be hard, you know, for a first-time artist. But I think the way that this kit is put together, we've got several different materials to try and experiment with. We've got paper that actually works. In fact, everything actually works. Like I said, the only thing I don't like is the palette. But it's not that it's not usable. That's just my personal choice. I've never liked this style of palette. I always like something bigger with more mixing wells than just one. I know you can actually mix individually in here. You know, you could literally squeeze the paint out just there and then mix the colours in there. But paint's going to kind of run off the edges and things like that. So I think, you know, to include another palette in that set would be a good thing. Or to buy an additional one, you know, if you buy the set and it's got this palette in. But that'd be the only recommendation I'd give to Home Hobby, would be to change this palette, and that's it. Everything else is fine, absolutely fine. And in fact, you know, I am going to be using some of this in my demonstrations. I'm actually going to do some watercolour paintings with these on this paper, using those paints. I've got no problem with that at all. They're absolutely fine. So I'll leave links in the description below, so you can go and check out their website and have a look at all the various kits and all the art materials that they do. Like I say, they're all very reasonably priced. They are a new company starting out, and they did actually ask me to give them, you know, any recommendations or constructive criticism. So, you know, I hope that's been okay for you if you're watching this. You know, I honestly think you've got a really nice product here in this box. I really do. But just a little bit of tweaking, you know, would be a good thing. Very impressed as well the fact that we've got a real pencil sharpener in there. I mean, we ought to just give that a little test, really, haven't we? Just see if these pencils sharpen okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So everything in this kit is of decent quality. I can remember a kit like this when I was, oh, I don't know, I must have been about 8 years old, 9, 10 or something. I got a kit like this for Christmas, and some of the materials in there were really unusable, you know, but that's going back years. I mean, times have changed now, and it's amazing, you know, the quality you can get now for very little money. I mean, I'd sort of pitch this in the market as kind of Reeves, sort of watercolour quality. That kind of quality of paint and paper and pencils and everything. You know, perfectly usable, nothing wrong with it, and a really good price. But it's not artist quality, you know, we haven't got any information on any of the products. It'd be nice if they could put that on. I mean, that would kind of up the game a little bit, wouldn't it? You know, if we had light fastness ratings and pigment numbers and everything, and we could see what's actually going into, you know, making these colours. But apart from that, I would recommend this set, and I would buy this set for somebody. And it's just a shame they couldn't get it to me before Christmas, because this would really be, you know, a really lovely Christmas present for somebody, I think. Really pleased with it. And again, the brushes, can't fault them. They're really, really good. They spring back to a nice shape. They hold a reasonable amount of water. I mean, okay, you know, they're not sable brushes or anything like that. They're just nylon brushes, but they work, and they work okay. So I think, all in all, the person that put this kit together has done it with thought, to be honest with you. They've not just looked at the price of things and thought, let's just chuck all that together and see if it sells. I can see that there's thought gone behind this to ensure that everything works together and works well. You know, it's that kind of kit. You wouldn't be disappointed with this. You know, if you were to wake up on Christmas morning and open this box and to find all this, I certainly wouldn't. I'd be delighted with this, because it's a really nice little kit. Really nice. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful to you. Like I said, there'll be links in the description below to the website. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.